still nursing my voice. Let's see. I don't like that. That's too small. Ooh, that didn't help. Oh, that's a little bit better. There we go. Hey, everyone. While we are waiting on Tanner, let's take a look in the chat and just say hi to everyone. First of all, I guess I didn't have an opportunity to test. So can everyone hear me? Is this thing on? All right. Thanks, Skull. All right. I see him getting set up. Fingers are in the screen. So Tanner will be with us in just a moment. Let's see. We've got Dee Dee's Finned In saying hi. Hello, Dee Dee. Susan for SLC Aquatics is saying hi. Hello, Susan. Was just in your live stream. Glad to hear that you're feeling better. We have Crown Tail Half Moon saying hi to everyone. Hello, Crown Tail Half Moon. I want to abbreviate that for some reason, but I won't. Skull Aquatics is here once again. Skull Aquatics, thank you for joining the live stream again. All right, and that's all of us as of right now. I did this. I'm not sure where the lines came from, and I haven't quite figured out how to get it to where it doesn't crop off. Oh, I'm playing with the tools here. I can change that even on the screen. Tanner says he's working on his headphones. He'll be with us in just a moment. Yeah. So hopefully we're going to have a fun time tonight. I know we will. Tanner and I always have a fun time whenever we get together and talk, and looking forward to talking with all of you. And Red Laser is here saying hi to everyone. Oh, Pet Sodics is also here, letting me know that both the audio and video are good. Good to hear. Thank you. Aquaballs, hello, with the wave. So yeah, we're going to do a topic this week, our second official live stream. I'm going to quit saying that here after a little while, but we're going to have a talk on some of our favorite fish. Sorry, someone passing through the room looking for something. How's everyone's, what is this, Tuesday? That's when we live stream, right? It's Tuesday. Is everybody's Tuesday going? Been playing with my setup some. All right. Tanner's still playing with things, trying to get his audio going. He was running behind from work. I know the feeling. I had the same thing going on. Oh, he says he is good. Adding to the stream. Oh, you're so tiny. Oh, I can't hear you. No, I still can't hear you. Can anyone else hear Tanner? Is it on my end?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. There you are.
Perfect.
All right.
Sorry about that, Mitch.
Hey, I understand, man. It was the same for me today. I thought I was going to get off work a lot earlier than I did, and I was struggling to get things ready to go. Aquaball says water changes for them today. Skull Aquatic says all is good, all good. Yeah, I need a water change. You can see back here, I'm about an inch low. Had to pull some out. What did I use it for? I pulled it out for some reason. Oh yeah, I got rid of some mollies this week. So I pulled some out of the tank, and I was supposed to do a water change today, and that way it would be nice and full for the live stream. But what can I say? Had to work late. So it's going to bug me the whole time. I'm going to be staring at it going, the water level is not all the way up. I need to get a nice green screen and just put a video behind me and stop trying to do this in front of the tank.
Yeah, I like having it in front of the tank, but I need to fix my setup with the camera because you just can't see the tank much.
Yeah. Well, and I've messed with this whole setup. Here's some behind the scenes on this live stream. I've messed with this whole setup. I've added a table to my right, and I've got a mouse and a keyboard in my lap. So instead of having to do this number on the laptop, and I will say I made some purchases this week to try and make some of the videos and hopefully the live stream a little bit better on the channel. I got a new tripod for the phone because the phone is still the camera right now. And I broke the old tripod, so I've been trying to work with a broke one. And it also has a light on it, so maybe that'll fix some of my lighting situation. I won't have to use the 10-gallon Nicrew light, which I'm not using tonight. I think it looks good without it. I'm going to go without it. It made me look like a vampire. I was just all bright light. I don't know why I thought vampire when I said that, but I did. Going with it. So yeah, some updates. Oh, and I got a new mic, a little what's it called? A lavalier. I don't even know. Something like that. The one you pin on. I got one of those. I was hoping to get it before Saturday because Saturday I am getting to tour one of the local fisheries. A Conservation Fisheries Incorporated has invited some of us out. And Tanner, are you going to be able to make it? I think you said today you were.
Yes, I am. I'm coming in this weekend, and I'm extremely excited for this.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's a cool thing. And so if you saw our schedule kind of change a few times in the last few weeks, I got sick, and I was sick for a couple of weeks, lost my voice. On Tuesday, I don't know if I said it during the live stream or if it was afterwards, but I told Tanner, I was like, I got this little tickle. It's bothering me. Hope I don't wake up sick tomorrow. Well, I did. I woke up sick the next day, and I was sick. Actually, I don't have my voice yet. I've had a few times today, and I've already on this live stream had to mute and take care of some things. So I'll try to keep the cursor near the mute button. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time.
I think last
we
Tuesday,
were supposed to have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was saying, I think last Tuesday we went back and forth for a good while deciding on whether or not we were gonna still do the stream, and it's good that you got the rest, but certainly missed out on that last week. But we're back.
Yeah, it was definitely me waffling. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it today. I am going to do it today. And then I messaged you and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it today. And I was like, but I really hate not to. So maybe we should go ahead and try it. And I went back and forth over and over again. So that's my fault. But yeah, we were going to have this live stream last week. And then this week was supposed to be Derek Wheaton. And Derek is a member of our local aquarium club. And he works at Conservation Fisheries Incorporated. I believe I'm saying that right. And he, what they do is they are working with protected species and just trying to save them, take care of them. So that's going to be real cool. We're going to tour the facility this Saturday, so there'll be a video on that coming out. And then the following week, we'll have him on the live stream to talk. So that's going to be great. I actually works out better than we planned. I got to get in the habit of looking.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have some more insider information. And I'm absolutely stoked. I've never seen a facility like this one, and I'm like going to be a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good time for sure. We've got a few people going with us, so and some people that you all may know, so that'll be cool. We'll see what comes of it. You might see us in some other videos and see some things going on. That'll be fun. All right, so let's get to the topic because we're already 12 minutes into this live stream. So tonight we're just going to talk about a few of our favorite fish, and that's going to get our live streams kicked off. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We kind of had some overlap on our favorites, so we're going to talk about them. Now, Tanner's got a couple that I've never kept. I don't know anything about. So I'm really interested in hearing. I have seen pictures. I've seen where you've shared these online, and I know you've got some stories around some of these. So looking forward to that. And I'm going to try and figure out how to add this stuff to the live stream. So, oh, looky there. There we are over on
Oh,
the side.
awesome.
And I've got this going on over here too. I was supposed to put this one up. So everyone welcome. We'll take that one off and say our first fish is from Tanner and is the Scarlet Batis.
Yes. So I'll go ahead and go and talk. This is one of my all-time favorite fish. I've kept them for a couple years now, and the picture might be a little misleading because they are about an inch to an inch and a quarter in size. I mean, they are very tiny, but they are just a small fish that packs a ton of energy. They're one of my, like I said, one of my favorite fish. That's why I chose them. I keep them. They're good for smaller tanks. I keep the ones I've got. They're in a 10-gallon. And I actually was lucky enough. So I might skip around a bit, so I'm sorry. You may have to follow along. But so in the hobby, if you all know anything about Scarlet Batis, females are almost impossible to find. And I was at a local store back in February in Nashville, and they had just gotten in a shipment of these Scarlet Batis. And I was looking, and I was like, I wonder if there's any females in there. And I kept looking, and they're a fish that's often overlooked because when they come into the store, they look nothing like this. They are just very pale, like a pale gray with a little bit of red coloration. It takes probably a couple weeks to get them really colored up like this. This is a male Scarlet Batis in its breeding coloration, so it's really, really vivid. And back to the story, I was lucky enough to find a female, and they're really hard to distinguish in the store because, like I said, they're all really washed out when they come in, and typically breeders will not send females to the store. So right now in a 10-gallon tank, I've got a male and a female. The females are a little bit smaller and they have kind of a gray coloration. They're not near as colorful as the males, but they're just a really interesting fish. And one thing that kind of may be difficult with them is that they prefer live foods. They're very difficult to get to eat flake foods, pellets, anything like that. So what I did when I first got these fish is I had a shrimp tank that had shrimp only and was just full of tons of little microfauna and different like scuds, different microinvertebrates, stuff like that. So I put those guys in there, and immediately he was like hunting. Like they'll rove around, they'll see something, cool. And
Yeah.
then their eyes will dart down to it, and then they'll just hone in on it, sit there, look at it, and then bam. And so they're a small fish that pack a ton of personality, and I really love the coloration. They do great in planted tanks. I kind of, I've kept them actually in the 40-gallon tank behind me in a community tank, and they actually did well. I wouldn't see them much because they're kind of a shy fish. I think the best way to keep them is probably in a species-only tank.
Do they do better when there's more of their own kind?
So the males can get aggressive.
Okay.
So you probably... Is it
that rule
in a 10-gallon, I'm looking at the tank over there, but in a 10-gallon, I would, if it's super heavily planted, you could probably get away with 2, maybe 3. But if you're wanting like a small colony of them, and like I said earlier, it's going to be pretty difficult to find females in the hobby. When I first got into them, I was like, that looks like a fun fish to breed. And I started scouring, forums and stuff. I was like, where are females? I can't find any females. And they're like, that there aren't any. You have to get them, they're like, you can try and get them shipped from like Germany. And I was like, yeah, I'm not shipping a fish from Germany. I love them, but I can't pay the postage on that.
Yeah. I remember you were excited. you shared it with the club, and a few of
Hmm.
us were talking about it, and that was when I first learned about the fish. And I'm pretty sure I've seen them around before that, but I really took notice of it because the pictures you were sharing, they were just gorgeous. Of course, it was like you said, it's the males that are so bright, and
Hmm.
I think I've seen them at aquarium since then. But
Yes.
yeah. So, but I've also heard people talk about them on live streams recently. I think it was Bob Steenfott who was talking about them, and people were talking about how you can't find females, and he didn't realize it. I don't know if he just was looking into them now or what it was. I can't remember now. It was on a live stream, but he was talking about it. I was like, yeah, I remember Tanner talking about that fish and not being able to find the females. Apparently, the industry as a whole does not ship the females. They keep them. Is it just because they're not as colorful and so they don't sell, or do you think they're trying to keep the species limited in the hobby?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
Okay.
So I
Is it
actually
an
the other
expensive fish?
not really. I've seen them range from $5 to $8.
Okay.
But I think the biggest
Not bad.
aspect is like you were saying, the females aren't colorful, and even the males when they come into a store, you know, that who knows how many um, different wholesalers and where they've gone. They haven't eaten in a while. They've been in, you know, shipping. So when they get into the store, they're just, you know, you kind of look at them and you're like, okay, that's a quarter-inch gray fish. Why would I want
Right.
that in my tank? And
Right.
I was actually this past weekend, I was at my local store, and I've gotten to be, you know, pretty decent friends with some of the guys, and we were looking at different Battis on their from what they could order, and they were
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, man, I would love to get in some of these, but they never sell."
Mm.
And it was one of the larger Battis species. I can't, it may have been a tiger Battis
Okay.
if I can remember correctly. But there's quite a few different species, but they just get washed out coming into the store. And
Yeah.
I also think it is a little bit of the not wanting to introduce too many females into
Yeah.
the hobby.
And even your male took a little while to color up, right? I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, I've had this guy for probably 6, 7 months now. And within the last, it took a solid 3 months to get the coloration that you see in this photo.
Hmm.
Um, and then the female, I think the females are beautiful fish too. It's interesting. Whenever they're alone, they're completely like almost like a female guppy, that kind of
Okay.
gray color.
Yeah.
But in a presence of a male, and if you look back at some of my posts in the club Facebook page, in the presence of a male, they get these really dark vertical bars, similar to the red vertical bars that
Yeah.
the male Vadis has. And their breeding activity is I've seen them breed several times. I have not. I don't think the female is mature enough to have fertile eggs or
Okay.
viable eggs, but they sort of do. So if this is like if this finger's the female, the male will come and wrap like this, and they'll sort of like wrap each other up, and it's really interesting because they primarily do it under plant leaves. And John, your question, if
I'll
I
put it
get
up
my
there.
breeding going, am I going to hold back females? I am. This may be controversial, but I or some people may agree with me. I want if I have males and females, I think other people should have access to that. I don't think I have the right to hold back, you know, fish from people because I mean the enjoyment for me is watching them the male and female interact and the species interact in its natural environment. I mean it's in an
Right.
aquarium, but you know you really bring out the behavior of the fish of the scarlet batis when they have a male and female together. So
Okay.
if I'm hoping, I mean, I've been feeding them white worms, courtesy of the culture that I got from Cassandra, and
Oh
micro
man.
worms,
Yeah.
and they absolutely like demolish them. I've got some videos that I may post in the club after this of them eating the white worms.
Yeah, that'll be
It's
good.
I love sitting in a chair and watch. I'll feed them and just sit there and watch them. So they're a great Skull Aquatics. How many Battis do I have? So right now I had a couple males, and once I found that female, I gave the other males to a friend, so I had some tank space. Because if there's multiple males with that female, you're from what the research I've done, it will not go well. You know, similar to other fish, the males will harass the female. But I've been wanting to get some of the larger baddest species. But on that note, we probably need to move on to the next fish.
Right.
I
Okay.
can see Mitch gearing up.
Well, no, I was working. We've been talking about the club for so long. I wanted to try and get a link in the chat for it. So I don't know if that'll work or not. Obviously, we are centralized in East Tennessee. And if you're in the area, definitely check us out and try to come out. If you're from outside of East Tennessee, we've got a pretty cool club that, our online group on Facebook. We have some great conversations, and we're constantly sharing what's going on in our own fish rooms and our single tanks. And so definitely join and check that out. Is it almost 800 or almost 900 members? I can't remember.
I think it's 900.
Yeah. So John's got another question. You can be selective in distributing females, sell them for like $25, unless it's to an officer to a fish club somewhere, then they get a steep discount. And the great thing about that is, with the females being rare, is you want people who are going to take care of them. So, I mean, price is a factor in that. You've got to consider that in the well-being of the fish. So I would say a female should be more expensive since they're harder to get.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I would say someone's not going to go out seeking a female unless they know, kind of what they're looking for. Do I keep them in a community tank? So right now they're the only fish in my 10-gallon. There's some shrimp in there. I will say that they will pick off baby shrimp from what I've seen. So if you want to keep them in with shrimp, you need to keep it heavily planted. As far as a community tank, I have actually kept them in this tank behind me. But I would say that the largest fish I had in there was probably at the time Harlequin rasboras. So I don't know what would happen with larger fish. I moved them out of this tank because I was adding some crebensis in, some that I actually got from John Select Pets at our club fish swap, and those are doing great. We'll talk about those a little later.
Yeah. So for time, let's move on, and to say Scarlet Batis, it's a bad fish. It's a good one. It's not a bad fish. It's a good fish.
It's a great fish.
It's a great fish. You should, maybe we should do something else with it sometime. Talk about it a little bit more, because this is just supposed to be high level. We've got a few we want to cover, and we're still on the first one, so we'll move on just a little bit. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be watching them, and we'll definitely get those answered. I put up the same one. Now mine are going to be much more boring because I haven't kept any cool fish like the Scarlet Batis. I keep cool fish, but they're a little more well known. So and these are not like 1, 2, 3. I don't know if yours were. Mine aren't. They're just like some of my favorite.
Yeah, I can't pick a favorite.
Yeah. So let's put this up. All right. So this one was this is Corydora, and this is just blanket all the Corydoras, all the Corys. This is one of my favorite fish, and it's also one of Tanner's. It was on his list as well, so there's some overlap here. I believe the top left is a picture of one of your bronze.
Yes.
Or is it just
that
bronze?
is correct?
Okay. And then to the right is one of my greens. And then I also grabbed a few pictures of the fry that I've been raising up, because these are the first fish other than live bears that I've attempted to breed. And so just underneath in the middle, kind of the little picture where there's an egg and a little thing beside the egg, that's a fry that's just maybe a few hours old, I think. And then underneath to the left is a little bit older, and then to the right is this past week. Actually may have been last week. They're growing really quick, but this is one of my favorite fish. I've kept Corey's pretty much since the beginning of my hobby. They were one of the first fish that I got. I saw them. I remember seeing, now in the beginning, I shopped at PetSmart, and they had like Paliatus. I think that's how you say it. That's how I say it. And albino cories. And the albino cories just freaked me out. But I really liked the salt and pepper cories. And so I got a few of those, kept them for a long time. Really liked those. At one point, my youngest daughter saw a Sturbe Corridora. Sturbe. I don't know why I always do that. At I think it was at a PetSmart too, and it was like $10. So at the time, it was like the most expensive fish we put in the tank, and it was just a gorgeous fish. Of course, they told me it would school with all the other fish, and she did with the fish that she went in with, but both of I guess there were three of them, and two of them I'd had for a long time, and I lost them at some point, and she quit swimming with all the others because we did buy more. She wouldn't swim with all the others. So I've been trying to get a school of Sturbe corridoras for a while now, and it's been unsuccessful. I've had some bad luck, and not just luck. I think I made some mistakes on the second batch that I got. I tried to overcorrect because of what happened with the ones I had previously, and I think a lot of it might have been on me. But this is one of my favorite fish. I have currently I have 7 greens, 3 salt and peppers, and 2 stir by. So the 75 is getting pretty full. There's not going to be a lot more go in. I do plan on doing some more stir by. I don't plan on doing any more salt and peppers. But I have 4 greens in a quarantine tank growing out that actually will be introduced to the 75 soon. And I have one panda cory that came in on a plant. The egg came in on a plant, and I hatched it. And so I've got that. I plan on giving it back unless the kids take to it, and then I have to keep it. But I don't plan on it. And I'm just growing it out for the enjoyment of it. And then I pulled 8 more green eggs this weekend. So those 8 probably will go to the club at some point. I don't plan on keeping that many greens. It's not the plan anyway. Let's see. John has a question on the Paliatus. Did you keep them at the cooler temp like they say? Maybe not. If stir-by are with them, those are extra warm water, right? I'm not that versed on cories. So with my tank, I have a community tank, so I keep it around 75, 76 degrees. I allow it to dip down close to 74. I have a temperature controller on it, and I don't let it get above 76. It stays right in that range. That's where I've kept them, and I've not had any trouble with them. Now the stir-by, the stir-by that have made it to the 75, which is the tank we're talking about, have all lived. The only ones I've lost have been in captivity. So I had and I'll make this short. I had a situation where a store got some, and I got all excited about it, and I went in, and they had a tank full of them, and I was real excited to get a hold of these, and but they were quarantined. They had them marked, so I was like, okay, well, I can wait. I'd rather you quarantine them than me take them home and have to put meds to them. So I waited. I called in the next week, or I went in the next week. They were still in quarantine. So I called the next week to see how they were doing. They were still in quarantine, and it went several weeks. And then I called one day, and they were like, yes, they are available. And when I got in there, they had 3. I just don't think they sold all of them that quick. I think there was some issues with them, and I should not have bought them. And I did. I bought the 3. I brought them home, and they didn't make it. And so on my last set that I got, I started seeing some issues that reminded me of what I had. And I just think I threw too many meds at them. I didn't like throw a bunch of meds at them. I tried to treat what I was seeing, and I should have just waited. I think I should have waited, tried to see if they would eat. They weren't eating at the time, but yeah, I think that was on me. But in any of them that I've had in the 75 have made it. So those temps, they've been good for the fish that I've had. I tell you, the greens though, I really didn't think that I wanted them when they were offered to me, and someone offered them to me, and I took them because I like Corys, and I was like, yeah, I guess I could keep a different Cory. And wow, they're just so active and all over the place, and I've really enjoyed that fish, and especially since they started breeding. Now I know Tanner likes Corys too, so I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, I'll keep this very brief. Right now, the Corys that I have are my favorite that I actually also got at the fish swap are the black Venezuelan Corys. I got a group of 6 originally. I lost one. Not quite sure what happened. Appeared healthy. The rest of them are very healthy. They're about 4 months old right now, maybe. So they're just about getting, they got a couple more months on them before they really grow out.
Yeah.
I had the upper left photo on this slide, the bronze Cory. I actually did not pull all the eggs, but I saw about 100, about right around the weekend of a week before Aquaticon. I don't remember that date. And I've got about 30 or so that are about probably an inch and a half at this point. They're growing out in a small tank with my Celestial Pearl Danios, kind of a quarantine / grow out tank. But Corys, they're one of the first fish that I got when I got into the hobby. They're when you Google community fish tank, they pop up, and I was like, these are so cool. They're baby catfish.
Yeah.
And it's just they're fun. They interact with each other really well. I love how in that upper left picture again that I'm referencing, that Cory is digging down in the carpet, and I love seeing them kind of rummage around. And they're just a very enjoyable. They're a relaxing fish to watch.
They are.
Full
They're
of
just
energy.
it's like a happy fish. You're just
Yeah.
watching them. And I think for me, you're probably the same way. I think for me, I like my plants in the tank so much so that I'm normally looking lower in the tank, and the Corys are down there, so they catch my eye a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like them.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. And another kind of thing I try to do with my community tanks, is have a fish that's going to stay towards the bottom, a fish, that kind of stays in the middle of the water column, and then, a centerpiece fish that might move up and down or all around. But the Corys just they draw your eye.
Yeah.
Especially when you see like 3 or 4 of them cruising around the corner of the tank. You're like, oh, what are they doing? Where are they going? It's almost like, what are they plotting something?
Yeah. And anytime anybody's in, they're like, oh, are those catfish? I mean, people recognize them as soon as they see them.
And
it's cool.
I saw I went to the Nashville Zoo. If you're in the Nashville area, go to the zoo. They have some incredible aquariums and reptile enclosures. Small plug right there. But they had a armored catfish. And this guy was like, massive. And I was like, it looks like a big Cory.
Yep.
Because I believe they're in that armored cat family.
Yeah.
So that's a very cool, it's just kind of wild seeing monster fish scaled down.
Yep. All right, let's move to Crebensis. Crebensis, another one of Tanner's favorite fish. And I'll pull up a slide that we have here. There we go. Beautiful fish. I was admiring this photo when I was putting the slide together.
Yeah, I wish so. I believe this is one of my male Crebensis. The females will get a more pink, like vibrant belly, especially when the male is courting her. And they're just another interactive, fun fish. They're kind of like almost the same demeanor and activity as the Scarlet Batis. I believe they're, sort of in the cichlid family somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. I'm not great on the lineages and all of that yet. But the Crebensis are awesome fish. They like to dig and root around. But one thing that drew me towards them is that they don't dig so much that they'll uproot all of your plants.
Oh, that's a plus.
It as long as the thing I found too is I provide a couple, cave like structures for them, with the driftwood or with rocks, and they'll just sit and hide in there. They'll dart out, and they're just they eat pretty voraciously. They breed pretty prolifically. Like, you don't really have to try to breed them, and they also seem to be fairly good parents to the fry. So that's always, I always think if you can get a fish to breed and then not have to constantly, if you don't have to be the parent to the fish, that's great, because that's where I mess up.
Right.
But
now, is that red on the tip of that dorsal fin?
yeah, they sort of get kind of like a almost reddish transparent hue. I think in this picture it's a little bit highlighted because there's some
Okay.
red, the crypts in the background have a little red on them,
I
but
noticed that too.
they kind of have this sort of I almost want to call it luminescent. You see on the bottom of that fin that it has the sort of bluish,
blue,
vibrant color. But I like a lot of fish that are naturally colored, in a sense, that they have, natural markings, but then they have kind of a pop of color as well.
Yeah.
And these are a great fish for that, and they're very interactive. I can come in I've got 2 males and a female in this tank behind me. One adult male, and then a juvenile female and a juvenile male. The juveniles were the ones that I got from John, and I had 5 originally. I lost 1, but there was one female out of the group, so I moved all the males, because that was just, you don't want to keep too many males together. Similar with the bass, they will spar. But the adult Crevensis will just follow around that female. I've been keeping an eye to make sure that he hasn't been, harassing her.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't been doing that, but he's kind of like almost guiding her around. He's trying to, guide her to his cave, but they're just they have a really unique personality. I can come in after work and walk in, and they're at the tank looking. They're like, all right, I need some food. And so they're just I like to use them. Hey, Chattanooga Ed, how you doing?
Glad you made it.
Yeah, glad you made it. But they're just a fun fish. They're kind of the centerpiece fish in this tank. And I found too that they're good in communities, which is always nice, because some centerpiece fish are larger, fish that you may want that really catch your eye can be more aggressive to, your schooling fish, your tetras, anything like that. But these guys get along great. I've got them with some Harlequin rasboras, some white cloud mountain minnows. They don't pick on them. They can, when they breed, get fairly territorial. Mm-hmm. But what I found is when they're in that behavior, the other fish sort of know, and they kind of stay away.
Yeah.
So they're just I enjoy them a lot.
It's a cool looking fish. Beta Aquatics says hi. Hello, Beta Aquatics.
Hi.
So you said it's a community fish. You're able to keep it. What size tank are you keeping it in?
I've got them in a 40 breeder. Okay. If you were doing less fish, you could probably keep them, if you were doing like species only with maybe some Autosynclus or, some, but those being the main fish, you could get away with them maybe in a 20-gallon.
Right.
I'm not sure though. I've kept them. I always say with tank sizes, I don't like to go to the minimum tank size. I always like bigger is better with aquariums.
Right. Yeah.
Easier to maintain. It's a larger ecosystem, but they're really happy in the 40 gallon. And they've got lots of probably one of the more important things with a Crevensis is to provide plenty of hiding spaces. And from, to prepare for this, I was doing some reading on, their natural habitat and all that. I believe they're native to the southern coast of Nigeria, and they're mostly found in densely planted areas.
Okay.
So I always like
So a
to,
good planted tank.
yes, plant a tank. That's what I like to look up fish that are like, all right, do they stick with plants in the wild? If they
Yeah.
do, they're going in my tank.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to have fish that will go in a planted tank for sure. That's key. I don't have a lot of real estate, so well, it's a cool fish. I've heard of it, but I don't know that I'd ever seen it, so I wouldn't have well, I've probably seen it, but I don't know that I would have recognized it
I
before the
hadn't
slide.
seen
So
them in stores quite a bit until
I've heard the name
actually
for sure.
within the past year or so, which surprises me because they're fairly, easy to breed.
Yeah.
But there's different types. It's sort of like epistogrammas. They're really, their demeanor's a lot like epistogramma, and
Okay.
there's different colorations, different species. But they're if you haven't seen them, look them up. They're very cool, interactive fish.
Cool. Welcome back, Susan. And let's see, I think I'm up next, and I'm going with another catfish, another one of my favorite cats, and that's going to be the good old Autosynclus. And I've only ever kept the common variety. I know I think it starts with a V. There's a name for that, but that's what I've kept. I think the one you have this picture here on the left. What is that? Do you know? Is there a common name?
That's what I'm looking up because I believe it does start with a V, but I
Okay.
can't hover. Let me look it
That's
up. You can.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll talk while you're looking it up. So this is another fish that I got very early on because I was told if you have algae, get this fish. This fish will eat your algae, and it is true to an extent, but they don't eat all the algae that I deal with. But they do a good job of keeping algae at bay. Once you get it under control, they do a good job of keeping it at bay. You can see the one here on the right's got a nice. This one is getting old. I don't know how long they live. I probably should know that. But I mean, it's more than 2 inches. I'd have to put a ruler next to it, but it's a good sized fish now. And I've got several in the tank. I've had 7 for a very long time, but the tank has gotten so thick with plants that I think the most I've ever seen at one time in the last probably 6 months was 4. I think there's definitely more than 4 in there, but that's the most I've been able to spot at one time. Let's see. Some chat going on about Autosynclus. Let's see. Chattanooga Ed said, I've had giant Autosynclus. That'd be cool.
How
They
big do
just get
the
big.
giant autosynclus get? I've really only seen one common species, and Mitch, I just looked it up. We were wrong. It does not start with V.
Oh,
I'm gonna try and pronounce this. Don't yell at me.
better you than me.
Anyone in the chat? I believe it's macrospilus.
Okay. Yeah,
Macrospilus.
I'd never heard that.
Autosynculus macrospilus.
Let's see. Melissa Gray saying, I'm having trouble finding autos locally recently. Melissa, I don't know where you're located. I know that some of my local stores had them on the list this week. So if you're in East Tennessee, put a comment out there, and I'll let you know where I saw them. They just came in though. So and the other store typically, one of the other stores that I go to typically has a lot of them. So if you're not in the area, that's not going to help you. But they are a fish that's caught in the wild. Typically, you don't see a lot of tank bred Autosynclus in the hobby. They're just caught. Like if you've ever seen it, I've watched some videos online. They are brought in just like massive quantities,
It
and
looks
then
like
shipped
they
all over.
shoal in like the thousands.
Yes,
But
it's really cool.
speaking on that, if you look at the photo on the left, that is actually a tank bred Autosynclus.
Mm-hmm.
I had a spawn of them. I've looked up everything I could figure out to see what I did because I quite honestly don't know. From what
Yeah.
I've read, similar to Corey's, they potentially there's nobody that knows the magic secret to breeding them, but simulating rainfall seems to help. And because they are wild caught, quite a bit of them through the shipping process aren't fed to reduce on cost and then also keep the water clean. And they have from what I've read and some other resources I've looked up, they kind of lose their gut bacteria.
Right.
And it can be very hard to get them back eating. You need a good source of biofilm. And a lot of people, I think where they may mess up is that they say, you know, you look up anything, I have algae. And they're like, oh, autocinculus, you know, a myriad of other things. But people get them in the tank and they think that they solely eat algae. They are slightly carnivorous, but more so than that, they need their diet supplemented with some sort of veggie pellet, something along those lines, because typically the algae in your tank won't be enough to sustain their diet. And that picture that Mitch has on the right is an example of a healthy autocinculus. Their belly is going to be protruded out from their tail, and kind of they kind of look fat, but that's really what a healthy autocinculus looks like.
Every now and then on the ETAA group, I'll post a picture of my autos and go, happy or pregnant? Because sometimes I'm like, ooh, that one looks bigger than normal. But you know, they're just happy, which is good. I'm glad they're happy. I have heard numerous accounts of the accidental autocinculus fry. Like, it just happens. And I don't know anybody. I've never heard a story where someone intentionally was able to breed autos. It just happens. And then for some people, it continues to happen. And that's awesome, because autos raised without that shipping process that you were talking about do much, much better. And I will say that if you can get autos into a well-established tank early on, they do great. They're a bulletproof fish in the right condition. But that situation of how they're shipped out just does a number on them.
Yeah, it's really hard on them. If I were to add autocinculus to a tank, I would probably add them after a month at least of, and this isn't a heavily planted tank. You want that, you know, that biofilm, the algae, anything on the surface of the plants to really build up to help them get that gut bacteria back and get them healthy. And I feed mine like, you know, the veggie wafers. You know, just pick a good quality brand and they will go to town on them.
Yep. I was trying to catch up in the chat. Looks like we found there is one of the local stores posted today. I did check just now. They posted today that they got some in. So if you're in the Knoxville area, Aquatic Marine does have them in as of today, but they just came in. So, you know, another thing that worked for me when I first got my autos was some blanched veggies. They did take to that pretty easy, and I didn't have to keep feeding that, but it was a way to kind of get some food in them.
Yeah, I think once they're established in the tank, you know, they're fine.
Yeah, and they're such a cool fish to watch. They honestly, to me, look like a little shark cruising the tank. When one, it's very rare that they get up into the water column, but when they get in the water column and they kind of do the swim that's like this, it's kind of a weird looking shark because the head's usually pointed up or down. And but they do, the body structure, the way they're built, they just look like it. And they're all the time just nibbling around on stuff. And they're just like Corey's. I love watching these catfish just go around and nibble on stuff. All right, Susan, hate that you got to go. Glad that you stopped by. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Susan.
Let's see. And I saw Ed says, I know they have them at Aquatic Aesthetics here in Chattanooga. I literally bought 4 of them 2 weeks ago. Yeah, most of our stores have had them, and it might be that they're not as, you know, they're not as common right now. Might just be something going on with, you know, how everything is right now. So hopefully you can find them. They're a great fish. Love them. All right, next fish. This is the overlap that you had, because you had 2 that I did not have. on my radar, but you put this one on your list, and it's a favorite of mine. There are some in the tank behind me. So that is trying to pull up that's the wrong one. I hit the wrong thing. Hold on. That is the Harlequin Rasbora.
Yes. So these guys, honestly, when I first got in the hobby, a friend told me to get them, and I looked at them in the store, and I was like, they're all right. And the longer, I actually got my first group of Harlequins probably last year. I've got about 10 in the tank behind me, and once they colored up and started shoaling together, I believe they're a shoaling fish, not a schooling. I could be wrong though.
I agree with that. I've had them for a number of years, and they do not just stay together. They stay close.
Mm-hmm.
They don't move in the same direction, but you will find them close by one another.
Yeah, they just sort of like to be, in each other's company, sort of. But they're just a really beautiful fish for your tank. They're really interesting, and they have some fantastic coloration. I think.
And I'm muted.
Oh.
The dog's making some noise. I was thinking he was talking about Rasboras, but John said that the autos were the first thing to go for him at the swap, so that's good. He said there was a shortage then. That's been a little while.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hit or miss. Every couple months or so, there's, no one has them. And it's like stores get flooded with them. But on the Harlequin Rasboras, they'll get maybe 1.75 inches, 2 inches, maybe. And that's including the tail length. But they're really beautiful fish. They've got that sort of, I like to call it the tomahawk on their body. It sort of, looks like a tomahawk to me, but they've just got really, my favorite thing with them is in them against green plants, because they just pop so well. And they're really just, I think they're a great, kind of not really background fish, but they sort of, if you've got a centerpiece fish, they kind of add, more interest to the tank. They're zooming around. They eat really well. They're fun to feed. And I like too, if you can see on that photo, that's one of the pictures from my tank of them kind of grouping together. I think this is actually during a water change. I find that the fish will group together most when I'm messing with the tank and doing a water change. But they've got this black bar that runs vertical on their eye. And I just think that's a beautiful accent to the fish. They're really good accent fish.
Yeah, they look great. I agree with you. Against the green, that red color, kind of a bronzy red, is really, really cool. It's a great looking fish. And I've had as many as I think 9 at one time. And it was really cool seeing them go across the 75.
Yeah, definitely. And I've found that they're another fish that's kind of hit or miss at the store when you pick them out. You really want to make sure that they've got that good a good body shape to them. They kind of, when they're real happy and well fed, their bellies sort of get fairly, they're fairly
they get an arrowhead
wide.
shape.
Yes.
Yeah, they get an arrowhead shape. I've seen them in the store. A lot of times in the store, they'll be real tiny and look like Tetris.
Yeah.
But when they're healthy, I've got some right here. I mean, they're about their width is almost half their length, I think.
Yeah, definitely. They in the store, they're not nearly as tall as they would get within your tank, but they're a good fish. You could keep them in smaller tanks as well. I wouldn't really keep them in small, 1 or 2. I'd get at least 5, preferably, 10 or more, just because that's when they start to feel comfortable. In smaller groups, they don't feel comfortable to come out and interact. But once you get a decent group of them, I think I've got, let's see, 8 to 10 in this tank right now, and they always sort of stay in the center of the water column.
Yeah.
And when I feed and food drops down to the bottom, of course they'll go down. But they really like to be in planted tanks, from what I found. But all my plants are, or all my tanks are planted.
Right.
All my plants are tanked.
All my plants are in tanks. That's not true. I have lots of plants outside of tanks too, but yeah, they're a great fish, and you're right. Mine stay right about that mid column. I don't know that I've ever seen mine go to the bottom for food. I think they're just like, whatever. I'll get the next thing that comes by. But they do cruise the middle. They never go toward the top either. They stay right there in the middle, so they're a great fish for that. So we've got some bottoms that we've talked about with the cories, and we've got the autos that just kind of go all over your plants. Battis, you said they stay pretty much center, right?
They really go throughout the tank. They
Okay.
don't typically go to the top of the tank, from what I've seen, but they're more like the crebensis that we talked about. They like to
Okay.
have hidey holes. Typically, they'll stick, like, if you've got like a rock cave or like plants with large, broad leaves, they'll kind of
Yeah.
hover under there. So they're more of a middle to bottom of the
Yeah.
water column, is what I would say. But yeah, we've sort of covered. The only thing we haven't covered is something like a
Hatchet
top of the
fish.
water column hatchet fish, or the
So-
African butterfly fish.
So I have a top of the water for me. It's one of my
Okay.
favorite fish. It's a recent one for me because this is the first year that I've kept either of these. I kind of went with two. There's a little slash there, and that is guppies and endlers, which I don't know that I fully understand endler guppies, whether they're guppies or not. I know that I've seen some videos. I've heard some people talk about it. I'm not sure where they fall, but I love them. I've come to love them this year. At the fish swap that we had, I actually picked up some. Up here on the top left, this is a red albino guppy that I picked up, and I love these fish, and they stay toward the top of my tank. I rarely find them below the mid column. But they love to stay at the top of the tank. They're gorgeous. I have not had them breed yet, which has been surprising. That's not true. I've seen the females full of eggs. I don't think I've had any survive. So I'm actually in a transition in the 75 where I'm trying to get rid of the mollies. And, but my girls really like some of the mollies. And so I told them we'd keep some of the females, and they're still spitting out fry. So I've got a few months to go before, I think months, right? And it's supposed to be like 6 months. Where I'll still have some molly fry, but I'm trying to get rid of them before they get big. So these guppies, I'm trying to keep them alone. I don't want anything else with them. The other pictures didn't turn out nearly as good. The endlers that I have were given to me from someone in our club who was following my pond and said, "Here, you need these for your pond." And I am so glad I took them because these endlers are amazing. And so John's got some answers for us. Let's see. John says endlers are a separate species from guppies, but they can hybridize them together. Also with mollies. I meant to ask Mitch if you have seen any molly crosses with them. So I don't think so. What I found out about this actually on Fish Room Fever's live stream. Him and Ed were on there. Chattanooga Ed were talking about the fact that they could hybridize. And I didn't know guppies and mollies could. So I was like, wait, what? And so I was a little worried when I found out about it. But from my research, it's typically if there's one that doesn't already have some of their own kind, they will hybridize. So the fact that I have a trio of guppies probably means my guppies are okay. And the fact that I've got so many mollies, I have in the short span, well, in the few months that I've had them in the same tank, I've always had a pretty good ratio of males to females of both species. Now, I also have some mollies out in the micro pond. I got rid of a lot of them this week, but there's still some out there. It's hard to get all of them. But I'm hoping I don't see any hybridization there. Now, these endlers that I got, you see here, this is some of the females, and you were talking about it earlier with some of the other species. They're much more muted in color, but they've got this gorgeous leopard print yellow tail that I really, really love. It's really cool. And then the males in this center picture, there was a glare. It's a pond. I should have got the picture days ago and I didn't. But you can see there's one of those females with the yellow tail, but there's a male that has some red and blue and yellow. They're just very vibrant and bright. I've got several males out in the micro pond and many, many more females, but they're really cool to watch in the pond.
Yeah, those guppies you have in the 75 are absolutely beautiful.
They are.
And I actually, this is kind of funny. I have never kept guppies before.
Yeah.
That's normally the first fish, everyone gets. But
This year?
3 weeks ago, I actually picked up my first guppies ever. I got 3 pairs of the black Moscow guppies, and 2 days ago, I woke up to so many fry.
Oh, cool.
Like I turned this is bad. It's the only tank I don't have without a timer because I just set it up. So I manually, I roll over. It's next to my bed, and I roll over, turn the timer on, and I was like, I saw like a little movement, and I was like, what is that? Because I've been hoping that they would, have some fry just because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
To watch them grow up. And so John's saying typically if the genus is the same, they can cross. A few species can cross outside their genus. That's something I did not know.
Yeah, I didn't know it at all until that live stream. And I was like, wait a minute, stop. Did you just say what I think you said? Now, I have heard they're like mules. They're sterile. So the hybrids cannot continue to breed. Now, I don't think is that true with guppies and endlers, though? I think guppies and endlers can continue. At least that's what I've heard.
I've heard that as well because I've seen quite a few, stores from time to time will get in, they'll call it just a guppy endler.
Yeah.
It'll be advertised mixed guppy endler. And I had always thought that endlers were just a smaller, I guess, species of guppy.
Yeah. So from what I've read, not read, I've seen it on YouTube. So, grain of salt, who knows what's true. From what I've heard, when they were originally found, they were thought to be guppies. And the person, like, they were found by somebody, but kind of forgotten. And then this guy named Endler found them again, rediscovered them. And when they went to the market, everybody started calling them Endler guppies. Well, by the time it was found that they weren't actually guppies, the name had kind of stuck. So I think that's where it comes from, but it is very confusing.
Yeah. We need to pull out our Punnett squares.
Yeah. So John says you are correct. Not always sterile. Take the parrot and convict making polar blues, for example. All right. So not always sterile. I think guppies and endlers can continue, but from my understanding, mollies and guppies, they do produce a sterile hybrid. So that's good. I don't have to worry about that. But that's go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say again that those albino guppies that you have in that 75 they're beautiful. They're some really nice fish.
I really want more of them, but I think I'm going to have to get rid of all of the mollies first. I think the mollies are just tearing through because I know that some of those 2 females have been carrying and they're very thin right now. Both are not thin, but you know what I'm saying. They're not bulging right now. So they may be in there though. It's a pretty thick tank. Maybe I just haven't seen them. I've tried to. I've always got molly fry swimming around. So I really don't know what these will look like when they come when they're first born though. I don't know what color they'll be. Will they be albino? Will they? I guess I need to do some research on that so I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I know with the black Moscow fry that I just had, I was not sure what to expect with them, but they're sort of a gray, dark, not quite black, but a dark
color.
So I would expect your albinos to probably be clear or,
That would be cool.
white. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be on the lookout. Definitely, we'll be sharing that. I've really enjoyed. We're going to wrap up here because we're over. I've really enjoyed YouTube Shorts recently, so I've been doing a lot of sharing on Shorts. When I got sick, the channel kind of took. It was not the most important thing going on. Although I wanted to get the stuff, I haven't gotten to it. I have a micro pond video coming out soon. It is in the process of being edited. Not there. I also, and I wanted to open with this and I forgot about it. I also, Aquatic Marine, who apparently they should sponsor me. They don't. They sponsor my club, but they don't sponsor me. They became the authorized dealer of aquarium co-op products in our area, which I'm very excited about. As soon as I heard about that program, I started messaging Aquarium Co-op. I was like, there's this store in my area. They're awesome. You should check them out. And then I went to the store and I was like, look, these are available. These are awesome. You should check them out. So I was really excited to see this happen. They invited me out to the store to get some video of it. And yeah, so I'm going to have a video on that I'm going to try to get out this weekend because I'm just really excited about that. My biggest small YouTube channel, but my biggest video so far was the Aquarium Co-op unboxing. And those are 3 products that I buy from them on a regular basis. And now I can walk into my local store and get them. So I think that's very, very cool. Vibes Aquatics is here. Good evening. And everyone's saying hi. But yeah, next week we'll be on with Derek. Derek Wheaton. We'll be talking about the Conservation Fisheries Incorporated, CFI. I'm just going to call it that. We're going to talk about CFI and their mission to take care of local species. That's going to be a great conversation. There'll also be a video shortly after. I can't imagine it'll come out before, where we will tour the facility. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be a great time. Tanner, as always, thank you for being my co-host.
Yes. Thanks for having me, Mitch.
All right. So everyone in the chat, thank you for coming by. Thank you for the conversation. And, if you have any questions, if you're on the replay or whatever, feel free to put it in the comments. Vibes Aquatics, smash the like button. I would appreciate liking the video. Our streams have done really well for the channel. I've been really happy with seeing, the views on those. So thank you all, and for the likes. And if you would, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live again.
Yeah, and then comment what you want to hear us talk about next. We may not know about it, but we can read about it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to be able to spit off some of those Latin names, but I can call it a salt and pepper Corey all day.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. It was fun hanging out with y'all.
Always is. So I guess until next time, stay scruffy.